different things like that, like things you would never think of, crazy stuff. We said yes a lot to mostly everything and everywhere. Beforehand, too, which seeded the garden for when we had a hit song.
Sure.
It was a hit song in 24 countries.
Everyone thinks they know how this story goes, that Richie Sambora simply vanished and left Jon Bon Jovi and the band stranded without warning. But what if that version isn't just incomplete? What if it's completely misleading? What if this wasn't a story about betrayal at all, but a deeper struggle, one that happens when fame quietly reshapes who you are until you barely recognize yourself anymore? Because the truth is, Richie Sambora didn't just wake up one morning and decide to walk away from everything he helped build. His journey wasn't sudden, reckless, or impulsive. It was something far more complex, unfolding over time in ways most people never saw. By the time he finally opened up at 66, the silence had lasted longer than most bands ever survived. While people expected anger or drama, what they got instead was something completely different. He spoke calmly, almost too calmly, as he explained that Jon was already moving toward a future where the band itself didn't really matter anymore. What surprised everyone wasn't shouting or blame, it was the quiet honesty in his voice. No chaos, no finger-pointing, just a simple truth. The bond people believed was unbreakable had actually been falling apart for years, long before that night he vanished in Calgary. Long before all of that, Richard's story started in a modest home in Woodbridge Township, New Jersey. Life there wasn't easy, and nothing came without effort. His father spent long hours working exhausting factory shifts, while his mother kept things running smoothly in office jobs. It was a strict, working-class household, shaped by discipline, faith, and the kind of noise that comes from real, everyday living. Music didn't begin as some big dream for him. At first, it was simply a way out. Classical sounds filled the house and folk music drifted through the background, but when rock music entered the picture, it hit him in a completely different way. It wasn't just sound, it felt personal. At just 6 years old, he discovered his father's hidden jazz records, especially those by Wes Montgomery. He would sneak time alone to listen, not fully understanding it, but feeling it deeply. That smooth, thumb-picked style quietly shaped how he heard music, long before he ever touched a guitar. Looking back, he even admitted he might have walked away earlier, maybe a couple of albums before everything changed. But then the mid-70s arrived, and with it, a moment that shifted everything. Seeing Kiss on TV wasn't just exciting, it was life-changing. The makeup, the fire, the energy, it wasn't just music anymore. It felt like an invitation to become something bigger. From that point on, he was locked in. He begged for a guitar and spent countless hours alone, teaching himself through pure focus and repetition. No lessons, no shortcuts, just determination and endless practice. By 14, he had already stepped away from school for a while to play with local punk bands, chasing any stage he could find, no matter how rough it was. Those early shows were chaotic, crowds were unpredictable, the pay was almost nothing, and things could turn wild in seconds. But those experiences taught him lessons no classroom ever could. Rock music wasn't polished or safe, it demanded everything, and if you weren't ready, it showed immediately. His first paid performance came in a bar where a fight broke out right in the middle of his solo. Still, he didn't stop. Shaken but focused, he kept playing like nothing else mattered. In that moment, he understood what live music really was. Pure chaos, somehow held together by rhythm. As his late teens rolled in, he was already working harder than most adults. He built bands, chased opportunities, and slowly learned the business side of music before any real success came. But the road wasn't smooth. Projects collapsed, equipment failed, and deals vanished just as quickly as they appeared. Failure kept showing up, but so did he. He didn't quit when things got tough. He simply adjusted his path and kept going. By the early 1980s, he was still pushing forward, chasing every opportunity when he got the chance to audition for Kiss. For a brief moment, it felt like everything was finally falling into place, until it suddenly wasn't. They passed on him, saying his style leaned too much into blues, too rich with soul. That rejection stung deeply, but in a strange way, it also gave him something valuable: freedom. Instead of trying to fit into someone else's mold, he leaned fully into his own sound. That choice didn't just help him move forward, it changed the direction of his entire journey. Then came a warm night in 1983 that would shift everything. After finishing a show, he walked into a small club and saw Jon Bon Jovi performing. When Richie joined in and started playing, the atmosphere in the room changed instantly. You could feel it in the air. Something genuine clicked right there, in front of everyone. It wasn't planned or forced, it just happened, naturally, like it had always been meant to. By the very next day, they were already writing music together at John's mother's house. Song after song began to take shape, tracks that would later define an entire generation. From the outside, it looked like the perfect partnership. John brought vision, ambition, and drive, always looking ahead. Richie added depth, melody, and raw emotion that gave the music its soul. Together, they created something unstoppable. Albums came quickly, tours moved even faster, and the pressure kept rising without pause. Even in those early days, Richie was already pushing himself too far. At one point, he collapsed on stage from exhaustion, but still got back up and finished the performance. To keep going, painkillers slowly became part of the routine, disguised as a way to survive the pace. Fame didn't reward rest, it rewarded endurance. And when Slippery When Wet exploded in popularity, it locked the band into a non-stop climb that never slowed down. Richie helped write songs that hit people hard because they came from real experiences, stories of working-class life filled with struggle, hope, and honesty. That truth connected with fans everywhere, but at the same time, it started to trap him. The schedule never eased up. Tours followed one after another, and studio sessions turned into long, sleepless nights. Success no longer felt like something to celebrate, it started to feel like something he owed. Away from the spotlight, his personal life began to suffer. Marriage, fatherhood, and his health were all competing with a career that never paused. When his daughter Ava was born, there were moments he missed, moments he could never get back. That regret stayed with him. Behind the scenes, he was struggling, hiding addiction beneath performances that looked perfect to the world. Rehab came and went, albums kept selling, and fans had no idea what it was really costing him. By the time the 1990s arrived, the tension was no longer hidden, it was right beneath the surface. Creatively, things began to clash. Richie wanted more blues, more space, more feeling in the music. John, on the other hand, pushed for bigger energy and constant momentum. Both perspectives made sense, but both men were exhausted. Working on solo projects gave Richie a chance to breathe, but it also made something clear. He no longer felt like a part of a band. To him, it had started to feel more like a corporation than a creative group. Then, in 2012, things began to shift for real, though quietly at first. Richie returned, expecting things to feel familiar, ready to write like he always had, but something had changed, and this time it wasn't something he could simply adjust to anymore. He didn't walk into what he expected. Instead, he stepped into a situation that already felt unfamiliar. By the time he arrived, around 30 songs had been written without him. Then came the moment that truly landed. He was calmly told he didn't need to worry about songwriting anymore. There was no shouting, no dramatic clash, just a quiet shift that said everything without saying much at all. After spending over 30 years creating music together, that silence cut deeper than any argument ever could. The music no longer felt like his, the process felt distant, and the connection he believed was unbreakable suddenly felt like it came with conditions. Then came Calgary in 2013, and everything changed in an instant. Just hours before a sold-out show, Richie was gone. No explanation, no heads up, nothing. That night, John stood alone in front of 20,000 fans, asking for his support as confusion spread across the crowd. Almost immediately, rumors started flying, each one painting its own version of the story.
For a long time, people believed he simply walked away and never looked back. But the reality was far more complicated. Richie left to be with his daughter because she needed him. And for once, he chose family without asking for permission from the system he'd been a part of for decades. That single decision changed everything. The silence that followed only made the distance grow wider. Weeks turned into years, and eventually apologies came, both publicly and privately. When the documentary later showed Richie admitting he didn't handle things perfectly, it revealed something rare: honesty without drama. No excuses, no acting, just the truth. He acknowledged John's pain without hesitation. He understood it completely. But at the same time, he stood by his choice, because the alternative meant losing himself entirely. Life after the band wasn't bigger or louder. It became simpler, quieter, and that was exactly what he needed. He built a new kind of life. He found love again, formed a relationship rooted in genuine creativity instead of pressure, and began making music on his own terms. No deadlines, no expectations, just freedom. He wrote dozens of songs at his own pace, toured in a way that felt natural, and showed up for his daughter in ways he couldn't before. The spotlight dimmed, but so did the weight he had been carrying for years. By the time he finally opened up at 66, this wasn't a story about betrayal. It was about survival in an industry that never slows down. He never denied the legacy of the band. He helped build it. Selling over 100 million records doesn't happen without his influence woven into the sound. But he admitted something deeper. After years of constant pressure, he stopped feeling like an artist and started to feel like a replaceable part of a machine. Walking away cost him a lot: money, relevance, stability. But it gave him something far more valuable: time. Looking back, he didn't describe it as a feud. He called it survival. He owned his mistakes, admitted he disappeared when he shouldn't have, but made one thing clear: he chose peace over pressure and presence over applause. People still talk about possible reunions, about whether he'll return, but he doesn't respond with anger. He simply moves on, quietly. Because the truth isn't dramatic, it's human. Sometimes the strongest move you can make isn't pushing harder, it's knowing when to walk away before you lose yourself completely. So now the question is simple: did he make the right choice, or should he have stayed and fought for it?